Hello, and welcome to Tina Butty Podcast. I am Erica.
And I am Dominic.
And today we're going to talk about Indian food.
Indian food is the best food you will ever eat, bar none. I'm offending.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. I'm offending many people out there who love Italian and Mexican and Chinese, but Indian food really comes to the top to me.
What?
For me, it's the toppermost of the poppermost. I am so sorry to anybody who's like, oh, Mexican and oh, Chinese or oh, Italian, but I love all them, but Indian for me, it's my one true love.
Indian food is just sort of coming up in the States.
Yeah, it really is in the States. You said the States like a British person.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just sort of happening over here, and it's still not happening like in most small towns.
In small towns, I mean,
Yeah.
well, in Texas, small towns, it's like Mexican food is going to be there. I mean, in Texas, Mexican food is always going to be number one.
Yeah.
The day that like Indian food or Chinese even becomes more popular than Mexican, there's something wrong.
I think people in
You know?
I think most people in Texas would probably rather go get a taco than a burger.
Yeah, oh yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Breakfast tacos are big here.
Mhm.
You know, people just like, you know,
Salsa, people love their salsa
chips
here.
and salsa, man.
Yes. But yeah, you know, I say that Indian food is just coming up here. It's been here in Austin. It's been here for a while. In the big cities, I think it's been around. It just wasn't ever one of like the most popular, particularly in Texas. Again, guys, when
This is all very Texas
yeah,
based.
when we're having these conversations, you have to keep in mind, because I can just hear you in Colorado and
It's big in
you know,
Colorado. I don't know what you're
Maryland.
talking about.
yeah, and Maryland and you know New Mexico, and you're just like, oh, what is she talking about? You know, it's like
How dare she?
we
How
live
dare
in
she
Texas.
speak for New Mexico?
We live in Texas. We're coming from a Texas point of view, Texas perspective.
A Texan's perspective on cuisines.
Yeah, that's a
Ethnic
That's a
cuisines.
tongue twister. But yeah, no, it's been here, I don't know, probably 20 years ago at
Long
least.
time ago, yeah.
I can remember my mom going to get Indian food with a coworker and go like, oh yeah, she took me for Indian food.
Oh, I thought that was recently. You said that.
No, that was like probably 20 years ago. But I had never had it until my first trip to Britain. I had never eaten Indian food of any kind.
I can't remember when I first mentioned it to you. I obviously, when we started talking on the phone, you know, and we hadn't like met in person, we started talking on the phone and stuff, and I think I vaguely remember now, you know, jogging my memory back to all those years ago, that I mentioned, oh, I'm going for a curry. You were like, curry? What's curry?
Curry, what's curry?
What's curry? What's that? What's that? What are you eating? What are you eating?
Yeah, because I mean, we use
It's
curry. We use the spice curry in
Yes.
cooking. Some Mexican dishes use it even. Curry. But
Yeah.
it's like to say I'm going
For
for
a
a
curry.
curry. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah, it was only my dad who made a curry, you know. And I used to go to this place, this takeaway place, which is closed down now. I just heard it closed down recently. And it was my favorite local. I mean, I had a favorite restaurant in the town as well, but we started going to this place. It was a little bit cheaper, and I could eat it at home, you know.
yeah.
But this place was really good because it did the best chicken tikka masala.
Yeah.
And of course, I like to get chips with it because you're in Wales and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And Peshwari naan.
Yeah.
And, you know, they gave you poppadoms, free poppadoms with it. Oh, it was just so good. It was the sauce was just so creamy, and it was just delicious, you know. And I remember telling you about it, and you were just like, "Oh, I don't know, I don't think that sounds that good," or whatever, you know. It's just like, because you were into getting Chinese food. That was your takeaway food, and
Yeah.
Indian was mine, obviously. So
Yeah. So the stereotype in America, it's not as if I had never heard of Indian food. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you'd heard of it,
I've
but you were
heard
just
of
like,
it. Like,
but there was a stereotype of you that was stinks and
no, they eat it on television shows and stuff. The stereotype is that it gives you the runs. You eat it and you get sick. You know, that's like, I had a bad curry. No, we don't say curry over here.
Deli belly.
I had a bad Indian food. Oh, you know, whatever.
Yeah, deli belly as well.
Yeah, that's the stereotype that, you know, I live over an Indian restaurant. And it's just like, you know. So I wasn't in a big hurry to try it because it was just like, you know, the stereotype over here is that, you know, it's going to make you sick, or it really, lots of strong smells and flavors. Stinks,
what's what I heard about it. It's like stinks up the fridge and whatever, you know, it's very stinky food, and you know, it smells really good.
It does smell really
after
good.
After you've had it, you know, you smell an Indian restaurant, you're just like, wow, you know, that is the best smelling food ever.
So before we go on, I just want to put it out there to you guys listening to, maybe we'll put a poll up that asks, have you ever eaten Indian food? Yeah, I think we'll do that because...
Have you ever eaten Indian?
Yeah, because
I used to say, I'm going for an Indian. And you'd be like, what, an Indian man or an Indian woman? What are you talking about? And I was like, no, I'm going for an Indian, meaning I'm going for an Indian takeaway. Thank you very much. Or an Indian
I'm going for an Indian. I'm going for a curry. And it's just like, a curry what? You know?
A curry what? What are you currying here?
Yes.
Chicken tikka masala in it, mate.
These British people and their language, guys, I swear to you.
But yeah, we'll put up a poll
yeah, because I'm curious. I'm just curious how many of you have eaten Indian food and how many of you listening have never had it before. Because and Yeah. If you, for some reason, are listening to this late and you'd missed the poll, then just go ahead and tweet us and tell us, or, you know, Instagram or whatever social media you prefer. And just let us know, because I was like, I don't know. I wasn't a teenager by the time I had it for my first time. You know, it was like,
it's funny, you know, like the stereotype and all that, because in Britain I had this friend who, her dad had never had a curry before.
Yeah.
And this was in Wales, and I thought that was really strange because it seems to be like a staple diet.
It's big in Wales.
Curry and, you know, the chip shop, you know, that was the two places you went to eat out, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, what do you mean he's never had a curry? He's like, oh no, he doesn't eat them because he thinks they cook cats and dogs.
Oh God! So it's the same kind of
thing about the Chinese
people think. Yeah.
No, there's that stereotype.
Vietnamese, they say,
they cook cats and dogs. It's the same. That's the same thing. And there's a lot of people who don't eat Chinese food because they think they're eating dog meat.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what? You know, I never believed that about any of them.
No.
But I thought that was so funny that he'd gone, because her dad was like in his 40s. He'd gone that long without eating a curry.
Yeah.
And I said to her, we've got to get him out for a curry. We've got to get, you know, because it's like, this is a rite of passage, you know?
Well, I mean, you told me that you shied away from it for years.
I shied away from it because I was a very picky eater, but it wasn't because, I think they cook dogs or cats.
Right, yeah.
Or anything like that. I shied away from it because I'd go to a curry house, right? Mm. And I think the first time I went was with my dad and his mates, and we went out after when he'd been on a session, you know, and it's just we went out there, and I remember going, I'm just gonna have steak.
Session means out drinking.
Out drinking, yeah, drinking session, yeah. And I was like, I think I was probably about 12 or something, maybe.
Yeah.
And I don't want, everybody was getting curries, and I was just like, no, I'll just have steak and chips.
And they have steak and chips?
They have European cuisine, it's called, on the menu. European cuisine, steak and chips, chicken and chips.
Oh, God. So that's the same thing, like when you go to a Mexican restaurant here.
They have north of the border dishes and stuff.
And it'll be a burger.
American cuisine at burger. Yeah, I still kind of get that thing. Mainly because it's the cheapest thing and I'm a cheapskate.
Or the kids' menu always has like chicken nuggets no matter where you are.
I mean, well,
as an option.
We used to go to this place called The Veranda, and they had a European menu. I didn't think they had chicken nuggets or anything like that, but they had steak and chips, and I used to have steak and chips, and the chips were nice, and the steak was okay, and I was just like, but they thought I was so weird. I could tell. Then I came back with my friends, and they were all like, we're having a curry. We're all having chicken tikka masala.
And so they made you feel like
And I was like, I am not. No, and I was like, I am not. No, it was peer pressure, I was like, I'm not going to have, I'll have a, and I was like 14, maybe 14, something, 14, 15. So that was my first thing. And I was just like, I tasted it. And I was just like, this is the best thing I've ever freaking tasted. I honestly, you have that moment when you taste something for the first time. I can remember it so clearly.
Yeah.
I don't remember, like I've had chicken all my life. I've had steak all my life. I can't remember like first tasting them, but my first curry, and someone said it as well. I think it was one of the hairy bikers actually said it. Once you've had your first curry, you remember it. You'd never go back from that moment. It was like that. It was like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever tasted. Chicken tikka masala. Okay, sorry, I'm ranting on.
No, that's fine. I was just going to stop you because chicken tikka masala.
Chicken tikka masala.
It's not Indian though, is it?
Well, food historians have concluded it was invented in Great Britain. By a Bangladeshi chef. Almost certainly invented in Britain.
Okay, so I'm
people.
equating everything we're talking about with Indian food to Mexican food. I'm translating it to Mexican food.
Yeah, and you're thinking like tacos and fajitas and stuff.
No, I'm thinking of a dish in particular because tacos, fajitas, those are all they're based on actual dishes. I
think a lot of Indian food is too.
But we have a popular dish over here, and it's got the name varies depending on where you get it, but it's Pachuca Monterey.
Oh, that's chicken and cheese.
That's not an actual Mexican dish.
Yeah, that's like, chicken and cheese.
That was invented for
white people.
Yes, yeah.
It was invented for the American market.
Yeah. So I'm equating that now. It's the same kind of thing, but that's a popular thing, and it's chicken with Monterey Jack cheese and
it's
mushrooms.
Very delicious, actually. As a white person, I approve.
But you can get it sort of a variation on the name, but it's the same thing. It's like it's not something that exists.
It's because you go to Mexico, right? They've got things like menudo and mole, and they have that in restaurants over here, but nobody bloody touches that. Well, I don't see anybody going here and say, "Hey, give me a bowl of that mole over here." Oh yeah, give me a bowl of that menudo. Hold the fajitas. I don't want any of that.
I think if you're in San Antonio, I think San Antonians would disagree with you there, but up in the Texas Panhandle,
they've grown up eating it, so it's like
they don't know what menudo is,
Yeah, menudo. It's basically like gazpacho, isn't it?
It's a soup, yeah.
Yeah, but is it cold?
No.
Oh no, because gazpacho is a Spanish soup. It's cold.
It's a cold.
I had that once. I was like, "What is this?" We should have had it in Spain, but yeah.
Anyway, back to Indian food.
Back to Indian food. My favorite food of all time.
But yeah, the chicken tikka masala. So just explain what that is for people who have never had it before.
It's chicken, like baked in a tandoori oven, which is like a clay oven. And it's like charcoal, kind of like it gets all the chunks of chicken, chunks of like chicken breast meat.
It's been marinated in yogurt.
It's marinated yogurt and spices. And it's been like baked in this oven. Then it's covered with this creamy tomato sauce, which is like tomatoes, cream, cilantro, butter, yogurt, that kind of thing. It's like a creamy red, or it can be orange.
Yeah.
And it's just all mixed together with like the spices and herbs and stuff, and it's the spice can vary. You can get it hot, but it's like a mild to medium dish,
and depending on where you get it, it can be quite sweet sometimes.
It can be quite sweet. I know that I've had it. The restaurant I used to go to when I first had it, it was like savory. It was very savory tasting. It tastes like tomatoes and cream, and it was just very savory tasting. But I went to other Indian restaurants and I've had it, and it looks the same, but it tastes really sweet.
I think maybe they put coconut milk in it.
Coconut milk, or like it was like an almondy kind of like
and
almond paste.
And Dominic and I made it from scratch once, and it takes forever.
It takes forever. You've really got to make it from scratch.
It was really good.
Building it. It was really good. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
But I think what makes it the key is the tandoori, like baked chicken. You know, it's like charcoaly and it's like really crispy and it's mwah. But you get that, and you can get a side of pilau rice with it.
Yeah.
And a naan bread.
They usually serve basmati rice.
Basmati rice, yeah, but you can get pilau or pilaf.
Basmati is a very fragrant rice, sort of like jasmine. And it just brings out the flavor of the Indian food, whatever you're
They do basmati in masala wok, don't they? I think it's basmati rice.
I think so, yeah.
But pilau rice is the is what I think it's similar, but it's a little bit less of a flavor.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little bit like rice. I remember it has like little peppers and stuff in it, very tiny.
Like little bits of cilantro, I think.
Little bits of cilantro, yeah. And you can get a naan bread. I mean, there's different types of naan. There's the plain one, and there's a garlic one.
Yeah, naan means bread, by the way. In Britain,
they
all say naan bread, though.
Yeah, naan bread, yeah. I mean, because you can get different types of Indian bread, like roti and chapati, which are kind of thinner, but naan bread is like puffy, and you know, it's like been baked in, it's been leavened, I think is what they call it. But yeah, you can get fillings in that. You can get keema, which is like meat. You can get that filled with meat. You can get garlic. And peshwari is my favorite. It's got like a coconut. It's like a sweet bread.
Yeah.
Coconut and raisins, like shredded coconut in it. At the takeaway I used to go to, it was like having a dessert with your main meal.
It is good. The garlic naan is the best, though.
Yeah, you used to get the garlic naan, didn't you?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it for the naan breads, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, but Indian restaurants.
Onion bhajis. Now, onion bhajis are one of my favorites. I didn't really eat them all the time because I think it was just kind of like, you know, it was just like the curry would make it full.
Yeah.
But we got some when we went to Spain because I was like, you haven't tried them.
No, yeah, I have.
And I about near ate them all. And you were like, oh no, you know, leave some for your dad or whatever. You know, like, couldn't stop eating them because they were just so good. It's basically onion formed into a ball and fried in like curry and spices and stuff. It makes them all crispy and delicious. And yeah, what did you think of them? I don't remember what you. If you
yeah, they were good. I can't remember.
I can't remember what they tasted like, but they were good.
Yeah.
But
so
anyway,
if
your
you
first time.
I was going to say, if you go to an Indian restaurant, particularly in Britain, you don't find it so much over here. We have had it in a couple of the restaurants we've been to over here, but they'll give you these things called papadums, which are basically like, they remind you of a tortilla chip, but it's not corn. It's sort of, what does it remind me of? It's sort of like
a buñuelo.
Actually, no, it's more like a Pringle.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah,
sort of like a thick texture, like it's thick and thin at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I know they just kind of fry them lightly and then they crisp up.
They're crispy, yeah.
Yeah, and you usually order them before the meal. You know, you sit down in an Indian restaurant and they go, papadums, and we go, yeah, and they charge for them because they charge for everything in Britain anyway. So
yeah, even rice, you guys, you will be surprised to learn that if you go to an Indian restaurant in Britain and you order chicken tikka masala, for example, or whatever, chicken korma, whatever, you have to order the rice you have to also order the rice. It does not come with rice.
Yeah, you have to order, because they'll go, what do you want with that, rice or chips? Or there's this thing in Britain, in Wales anyway, that you can do half and half, which is half chips and half rice. That's been a thing for decades. Because
like if you ordered the same thing over here, it would just come with rice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Like if you go to a Chinese restaurant and you order the entree, it's gonna come with rice.
That makes more sense over here because a lot of people they're not just gonna eat that.
Just the chicken or
just
whatever.
The chicken. Some people do.
And it's not just chicken, guys. They'll have lamb, beef,
prawn,
vegetarian,
seafood. Prawn. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Prawn curries are, fish even. Fish tikka masala I've seen. Yeah. Well, it doesn't sound good. People might like that, but not me.
You don't get beef, though.
I know.
No, there's no beef because they don't eat beef.
Yeah, no, they don't. Yeah. So you just get lamb, or prawn, or chicken,
or vegetables,
or veggie. Yeah.
But yeah, so you get the poppadoms. With the poppadoms they serve, it's sort of like the chips and salsa portion of the meal.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a starter. Actually, a starter would be more like onion bhajis with something, with mint yogurt
or samosas. Samosas are my favorite.
Samosas are really good too. But you get the poppadoms, and they come kind of like in a circular shape, and you have to like break them off, unless you just want to like eat them like that. But usually what you do is you hit them in the center, and they all kind of like just breaks into pieces. They've got like a coconut dip, they've got a yogurt dip, they've got like onions and spicy ones, and you just kind of have that before
they serve you a little, like, usually like 3 different ones, isn't it? It's like 3 different dips.
3 or 4. And there's this like green coconut stuff that I've been looking for. The Veranda used to do it.
They're like chutneys.
Chutneys are huge in Britain. That's one of the hangovers from the British Raj.
That's basically what they are. I mean, we're calling them dips.
You can get chutney. Yeah, it's like a chutney. Mm-hmm. But you can also get like a mint sauce as well with it, which is like... not like a mint sauce you get with your lamb. It's like an Indian creamy mint sauce,
Yeah. The samosas that he mentioned, though, or that we mentioned, they're like a deep fried triangular shape, sort of triangular, like a 3-dimensional triangle.
Yeah.
Like
filled with potato and peas.
But with Indian spices.
Yeah.
It sounds sort of boring, but oh my god, I could just eat them for a meal. And then you have the same kind of dips with the poppadoms. You can dip those in.
I mean, I could probably eat onion bhajis for a meal too, actually. And then that's sort of like a starter thing. You can get chicken tikka as a starter as well. And it's just a chicken tikka without the sauce.
Yeah.
And you get it like with a thing of lemon and some salad on the side. And, it's just chunks of chicken,
You guys, our anniversary's coming up not too long from now, and we've been talking about Italian food for our anniversary, or maybe trying a new Mediterranean restaurant, but now I want Indian food after this podcast. I'm just like, okay, let's go get Indian food right now.
Let's go do it right now. I mean, but we've decided on tamales for tonight, so we're going Mexican. Yeah. As if you couldn't guess, because we're in Texas.
But yeah, so that's what I started saying ages ago, before I was cut off. That Indian food in Britain is the equivalent of Mexican food in the United States. Yeah. So pretty much anywhere you go in the United States now. I think it used to be more localized toward the region that was sort of around Mexico, but I think it's very widespread in the United States now. I think you can get tacos and fajitas and enchiladas in pretty much any state. Probably even like Minnesota and Wisconsin.
Yeah, you can get Mexican food. You can. I'm sure it's not. I mean, California's a big one because it's not just the places that share a border with Mexico.
Yeah. Although California does share a border with Mexico.
Well, yes, but that's what I mean. It's not just the places that share a border with Mexico. Definitely. It's like Louisiana and Georgia and Kentucky and Florida even.
They have Taco Bells everywhere, so.
Taco Bell. Yeah, they even have a Taco Bell in London. That is all. That's horrible. Sorry, Taco Bell, but you're horrible. Take it away.
But yeah, so.
Taco Cabana is much better.
But yeah, so, our equivalent of, to us, Mexican food is the same thing that Indian food is to Britain. Indian restaurants are literally everywhere. In all the small towns.
There's about 9,000 or 10,000 Indian restaurants in the UK.
Yeah.
And they're usually Bangladeshi.
Yeah.
You know, because you call them Indian restaurants. It's very rarely Indian people running them. It's usually Bangladeshi, because after 1971 there was a huge Bangladeshi population that entered Britain because of the, you know, there was terrible famine there and I think the floods and everything, you know, like, that's what the concert for Bangladesh was about, George Harrison. So they saw George Harrison and they thought, yeah, we're gonna go to England and open a load of Indian restaurants.
Yeah.
And that's what happened, you know, and they did, you know, after the war, there was like an Indian, because of the British Raj and all, there was an Indian immigration, you know, population coming in, and they'd take over the bombed out chippies.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd start selling Indian food as well as fish and chips and English stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But then curry became so popular that they just did away with all the fish and chips and just became takeaways, curry takeaways and everything. And that's what happened when the Bangladeshis came in. They just opened up restaurants and started serving chicken tikka masala to the masses, and it became... But I think chicken tikka masala was popular by the 1980s, like at its peak.
Yeah.
Around the time I was born, everybody was eating it. You know, it was like you could not escape it. And into the 90s, and then, you know, I got hold of it. And
so it was inevitable that you were going to make me eat it my first trip to Britain.
Yes, yes. And I can't remember, I don't think that was such a great one either, actually.
I can't really remember.
We went to this place in London that was around the corner from our hotel.
I remember he was like, okay, yeah, we're going to do this. I found a place and whatever, and I was a little bit kind of dreading it.
You were dreading it. You were, and
I
it was showing on your face. You kind of going, oh, I don't want to eat this because, I've heard about it. And you didn't really say, you weren't really saying that to me, but I could tell from your,
because I wanted to try it because it was
But you didn't, you were like, oh, we
we
got McDonald's on standby, you know, or KFC or whatever on standby. I was
just like a little bit worried, because of things I'd heard which were wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you thought that about all British food, you know. So, you know, like I gave you a sausage roll, and you were just like, ugh.
Yeah, but
that was cornflakes and hot milk.
But the sausage roll was based on the actual taste of the sausage roll.
Yes, that's true.
Not the stereotypes. But anyway, so we went into the Indian place. I can't remember what it was called, but it was completely empty. There was like nobody in there.
We were like the first people there, and I said, "Okay, do you do takeaway? Because some of them don't do takeaway."
Which it was dark outside, so you know it was probably like 4:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I remember they were all just kind of like
dark,
looking
Dominic
at us like,
was like, okay, time to go home now.
Time to go home now. Everybody must go to sleep.
Yes.
Dark out, you can't see anything.
So anyway, we went in there and he ordered because I had no idea what to order, and then we were gonna leave, and then I was just like, wait a minute, we don't have, and this is a little tiny bit of a story time, a little bit of off topic here, nothing to do with the actual food itself, but
it's a little story time for you because I know you're interested in all that, you see.
But I was like, wait, how are we going to eat this? Because we don't have, you know, we're in a hotel, we don't have anything. And
like Henry VIII.
And Dominic was like, oh,
half of it's on the floor.
And so I turned around and went back to the guy and I said, do you have any utensils? And he just looked at me and kind of like, with his brow furrowed,
he was
you know, it was like
utensils.
He was just
and I remember him kind of like looking around, like, oh, what the hell is she talking
utensils,
about?
and you too. I don't know if you knew what I meant either at first.
I guess I just hadn't heard you.
And I think you, I don't know because you.
And
were
I was like, what are you?
And so I was kind of like thinking,
utensils,
okay, what else?
And you at silverware.
And so I said, I was thinking, okay, what is another word for it? And I said silverware, and he's still like.
And then I said, oh, cutlery.
Cutlery.
Yeah, I was like, what? Yeah, cutlery. Sorry. And he was like, oh, yes, cutlery. Yeah, okay. Knives and forks. You know.
Yeah, plastic
spoons.
Okay.
And he's like, oh yeah, sure, yeah. And so he's like, utensils, silverware. What are you talking about, eh?
But yeah, so in Britain, don't use the term utensils. I don't know. Do you guys say utensils? What do you call them?
Silverware.
Knives and forks.
What do you call cutlery?
Yeah. What do you call it? I call them utensils or like silverware. Even though, you know, it's not necessarily silver. It's probably made out of like, I don't know, stainless steel.
I don't even know anymore. I've been here so long, I can't remember what's British and what's American anymore, you know.
But anyway, yeah, I think we've pretty much said all there is to say.
We've said all there is to say on that topic. And yeah, as we asked, have you guys eaten Indian food?
Yeah.
Tell us. We'll put up a poll on Instagram, I guess. And,
yeah, let us know your experiences. Also, actually, I just thought about this. If you've eaten Indian food in America and in Britain, how do you think they are alike or the same? Yeah, how do you think they compare? Is one better than the other?
Is it better in America? Because Brick Lane Curry House in New York City.
That was pretty good.
That was really good. And it was so hilarious because the guy was a white British man serving us. I thought that was so funny because, you know, you go into Indian restaurants in Britain, it's all white people. And of course, it's all white people eating there. Yeah. It's all British people eating there. And it's like the Indian people are like serving you because they own the place.
Yeah. But you've commented, too, that a lot of the Indian restaurants we've been in over here, there's a lot of Indian customers.
Customers or Bangladeshi or whatever they are.
To me, that's a good sign. I'm like, this place is going to be good then.
It's good for their, you know, and it's so funny because...
If you know, the natives like it. Then...
Yeah.
But maybe they're not natives. Maybe they're Americans just like us. Yeah. It's like, you know.
Never had a curry before in my life.
Yeah, I want to eat Americanized Indian food. That's my other question to you. If you have been to India, because neither of us have been to India or Bangladesh, and you've eaten the food over there, how does that compare to what you've had elsewhere in the world, you know, at home or in Britain or wherever? Yeah, I want to know that too, because I've always wanted to go to India or Bangladesh or, you know.
Yes.
So
India,
anyway.
Bangladesh, Pakistan.
Yeah. So that's all.
That's all, folks.
Bye.
That's all, folks.
Thank you, as always, for listening. We appreciate it so much, and we'll talk to you
next time, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you much.
We have to go.
We are just losing it right now.
We've got to go.
It's 5:00 here.
Bye.
Bye.